Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans.
Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Ryan.
This is Jake.
This is Fleric.
This is Mac.
And this is our preview episode for the Natsu Basho in the year of our Lord 20 and 21. We are recording this episode on Monday, so this is 6 days before the start of the Basho. Therefore, we don't know about any injuries really that there might be, except for Hakuho. We've known since the end of the last Basho that he wasn't going to be in this Basho. But anybody else that might be sitting out, we don't know yet. We won't know for another 3 or 4 days.
Well, we probably will know the second that we post this, and like 3 of the people that we choose pull out as happens.
Just about to comment on that.
Far from the first time, if it happened.
All Ozeki are probably pulling out the second we post this episode.
Done.
They wait for us to record just the way that my cat waits for us to start recording.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's service. I like that. Hey, how can I get that at my house?
What are you feeding me, wife?
Puppy chow.
All right, so
My wife made puppy chow.
apparently
Ooh, yummy.
wives just feed hosts during the podcast now.
Some people just think that they get to be members of this prestigious podcast, this high class show, just because they live in the same house.
But can they can they be a part of the
That was
show
nice.
even if they don't?
That was
live in the
nice
house?
middle
Oh,
finger.
all right. How about everybody comes in here now? Thank you.
Yes, there he is.
And there's Panthro.
You can
Yeah.
cross the cat butthole space off of your GSB bingo video card now.
Yeah. And
Ever since
before
we-
that, it was a nice middle finger from
Yes.
Katie to Jake.
Ever
Which
since
is
we
quite
started
nice.
recording video, everyone in my household has decided to make the video much more interesting with their cameo appearances.
Yes, but that is what makes it so much better.
Everybody wants to be a star. That's what we are on Grand Sumo Breakdown. We're star makers.
Yeah. Trendsetters.
Who heard of that Jason All Sumo guy until he was on our award show last year, and all of a sudden, boom, he's got like 10,000 YouTube followers, like overnight.
That was us. That
That
was
was
us.
all us.
Our mortal
Mm.
nemesis, John Gunning, if it wasn't for this rivalry, do you think that he'd be as famous as he is?
Nobody would know who that guy is.
No.
Nope.
All right, so this is a rough transition, no matter what we are talking about. But
Rip off the Band-Aid.
Do it.
yeah, do want to address that. If people haven't been paying attention to the news, if they only get their news from our episodes, we mentioned Hibikiryu had a very severe injury on our recap episode, and he has since passed away due to complications from the injury that he suffered that happened just last week. We're not really going to dwell on that in this episode. We want to try to keep this episode a little bit more light, since we did spend quite a bit of time discussing just injuries in sumo overall, and then we did have a special bonus episode specifically discussing Hibikiryu's death that we posted just a couple of days ago. So if you want to hear our thoughts, you can listen to our 2 injury bonus episodes that we released in the past couple of weeks. But other than that is probably going to be the most we talk about his death on this episode. But we did feel it was important enough to bring up. But like I said, if you want to hear our thoughts on that, there's other episodes to listen to. We're going to try to keep this one a little bit lighter than discussing that would allow us to do.
Yeah.
It's been a really rough off season, so we're gonna do our best to do what we can to just get back into the spirit of the sport and all that. It's not something that we should move past, but it's not something we have to talk about at length again.
And then Jake, why don't you tell people about exciting new thing that we are doing for the podcast?
Yes, actually, we got some requests, so we thought we'd finally start a Patreon here. We're keeping it real cheap, because we know that
Panthro agrees. Keep it chill. Wow.
Jesus, man, get out of my way.
Professionals.
Real
Yes,
professional.
yes.
Now that we're
This
talking about
is what we
Patreon.
want you to support.
Yeah. Yes. If you want to monetarily support the show that regularly has cat butthole on camera and gets distracted by it every time, Yep. Oh, there's cat number 2 on the podcast. Lots of cameos today.
Actually, cat number 3. Because
Cat
that
number
one's been
3,
in the
yeah.
background the
Yes.
whole time.
So if you are a cat and you would like to be on the show, you can now go to patreon.com and search for Grand Sumo Breakdown. We are starting off with 2, like I said, cheap, but 2 tiers. For $1, you can be a friend of the show. You'll get a shout out once per tournament, roughly, depending on how many we got, and you will get some super special, exclusive GSB praise drawn from the Takayasu teacup of punishments and petty cash and compliments. It's
It's a
So-
multifunctional cup.
it's getting crowded in there.
So sometimes are you implying that sometimes it might be a punishment, a compliment, or just some petty cash?
That's a good point. Maybe I should
Ooh.
color code in here.
I like that.
But James Wilson, you get $5. He made $4 on the Patreon investment. So there you go. You can make money through our Patreon.
Actually,
Support
no,
us.
Let's
Uh,
not promise that.
Yeah, let's. Yes, please, no promises.
We need those $4.
we need them bad. But no, we wanted to have like a real cheap like $1 tier, just like a token amount to like help us out with server costs. It's not super expensive to run a podcast, but we thought we'd toss that out in case anybody wanted to help.
And then we
we
do
also-
have a $3 tier that will unlock all of the episodes.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, because we take down episodes once they've been listened to enough times or something.
Well, no,
Yes.
you have to pay $3 to listen to any episode now.
Oh, I see. Okay, if you don't sign up for
A
Patreon, you get them
paywall,
for free.
if you
But
will.
Yeah.
But no, our $3 tier, you also get a drawing from the Bolo compliments. But also you can help us select a topic for a segment, be that a specific wrestler, a time period, or something along those lines, some hypothetical situation, just something that you would be interested in our take on. But yes, any amount is helpful. No amount is too large, of course. I mean, if you want to get
No.
more than that, we're not going to stop you. But just for example, my wife signed up for the $1 tier because she's generous and doesn't understand the irony of using my money to pay me. In fact, she's only paying me a quarter of the money that she's paying from me. So we might want to rethink this. But regardless, I'm going to draw.
math, Jake.
Your wife is now paying me for services rendered.
Woohoo!
I don't know how I feel about this anymore. I thought it would be a good example because I've drawn a compliment from the Bolo compliments and podcast petty cash and inconsistent naming conventions. But this first one here, so my wife Katie from the Bolo compliments and Panthro, you do not get one. So my wife Katie, you have the cutest of all rompers.
Ooh.
Oh,
There you go. That's the kind of totally non-pandering, non-specific, personalized compliments that you could get too. But no,
And I think
we thought that we'd get that started. If you are interested, like I said, go to Patreon, just search for us. It's not hard to find.
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out none of this money is going into our pockets for personal use. It's all going into the podcast. It's either going to be paying off the hosting fees for whatever service we use. I don't get into that technical stuff.
Ryan drives the bus. He doesn't need to work on the engine.
he doesn't know what makes it work, man.
Exactly. And then upgrading some equipment
Yes.
as we can. So not for us personally, just kind of help support the podcast.
Yeah. 100% will get reinvested in the absolute miracle that we con enough of you into covering our server costs. Any money beyond
Entice,
that
not
would
con,
100%
Jake.
be reinvested.
Entice, earn
I'm
the
sorry.
respect of.
What did I say? Yeah, that's what I meant. Okay, I'm sorry. Let's move on.
Yes. And
Please.
let us move on to getting our recap of the Haru Basho before we go in and talk about what we think will happen in the upcoming Natsu Basho. So, Jake, if you want to pull up the voicemail.
Didn't think you'd want me to replay it, so I'm gonna need a second. I'd already closed it. I downloaded it, so I already closed it.
Figured we'd do it live.
Yeah,
since we
do it
have that
live.
capability now.
We'll do it live. Thus, we can laugh at it live.
Sure. So, Flair, how
Okay.
you been doing?
Pretty awful.
The exact
Absolutely
words
terrible.
Ryan wanted to hear.
We haven't mentioned it yet, but those who remember from our recap, I was unfortunately the loser Yokozuna Ryan.
go.
I was the loser of the punishment, so I had to do the punishment, which was to create a sumo song parody. But unfortunately, that week was just rifle with conflicts, so we weren't able to do it then, and so it got pushed to the preview. In which case, I ignored it right up until like
We literally got it.
As
We're
couple hours
recording
ago?
at
Ugh.
7. Yeah, we're recording this episode starting at 7 allegedly, and at 6:50, Flair's like, "It might be 15 minutes late. I still got to get the chorus right on this."
yeah, I had like at least half a
as
song left
expected
to
of a
record.
Fleric.
I spent most of my time coming up with the premise and lyrics, and then I was like, well, I got
Now you
like
gotta
40 minutes. Let's go.
We will listen to that during our regular punishment segment.
Oh Lord.
It is done.
But
That's
yes,
all I can
I'm
say.
ready to go. Let me see if I can. Let me try and make this work. If it doesn't work, we'll edit it so that it seems fine. But let's give it a try.
I
Hey
hear
guys,
absolute- okay.
Dee here with your Happy Halloween 21 review. Okay. I know I've gotten a little needly with the booking this last year and pretty critical of the product overall. But when it comes to this last pay-per-view, I really do have 2 words for you. Work rate. Did you guys see some of these matches? Everyone criticizes WWE booking for every match has to be down to the move, and I get that criticism. Workers get lazy and uninterested and just sort of go through the motions. And it's the same with sumo, right? Top guys can do whatever they want, but otherwise it feels like we've had years of just push, thrust, belt, slap. And then this pay-per-view, it was like the JSA went indie fed and just told the boys the finish and how many seconds they had. I got flips, throws, long matches, short matches, top half wrestling, takedown. This was match quality as place of importance, and I'm so into it. I get that there's probably some sumo cornet out there going, oh, they're turning our sport into judo or whatever. But what's believable is always relative. And for a B pay-per-view, the story wasn't that bad either. I usually get pretty upset with them doing the old boy glory chaser thing, but having Takayasu and Terunofuji do a which former Ozeki gets his dream thing was actually kind of fun. Probably not for Takayasu, who seems destined for catering till the big eye Intai. Oh, and real quick, speaking of Intai, the company just lost its Orton in Kakadeu. I know they're bringing Hakuho's story to a close of the tournament after this one, and I'm cringing at the thought of them having Hakuho do some heel turn talking about Kakadeu picking up his ball and going home. But anyway, as for this next tournament, I'm so excited. Even if the pay-per-view were tomorrow, it would still be not soon enough. Good one, B. I'll talk to you guys later.
All right. Leave the jokes to us, B.
The professionals, if you will.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that was a professional dagger that he stuck in there right with Takayasu. Just when we thought we were getting over it, nope, sticks it in and twists again.
No,
I'm
that's
gonna-
okay. I already wrote into the outline twisting the dagger into Jake a little bit more. So
Oh, okay.
Mm.
we're
I'm
covered
gonna
there.
continue not paying him.
Yeah, that's right. None of the Patreon money will go to B in his continued effort to report live from Japan whilst living in a cardboard box, I can only assume.
That is important to note. I know that could possibly turn off a lot of people who would be considering giving money. Just want to make sure none of it goes to B. So
Be rest assured, he gets none of the money. All right, let's start talking about the tournament.
Here we go.
yeah, how deep into this episode are we already?
Far too far. So we're going to start the discussion about this Basho the way we have every Basho for the past year now. And that's talking about COVID and how that's going to affect this tournament. So a new state of emergency has been declared in Tokyo, and that is extending to May 11th, which is 3 days into the Basho. So it has already been announced that those 3 days will be held without spectators. So we will be back to July of last year mode, where it's just ghost Basho.
Another silent Basho.
Yep. And it might not just be those 3 days. It is expected that the state of emergency is going to be extended to encompass the entirety of the Basho. Shibatayama Oyakata of the JSA has said that this will be a factor in determining if the Basho will be held. I would hope at this point we would already know if they were canceling the tournament. We're gonna go full steam ahead, assuming that they are doing the tournament. So yeah, I think we would know by now if they weren't.
Should.
I hope.
Probably, but just for perspective, Japan is approaching the highest peak that they have had ever.
Okay.
As far as daily new cases, they are nearly at the level that we were seeing in January. So, like, this isn't like, I mean, inevitably, some people will think it's an overreaction, but it is literally almost as bad as it's ever been over there. When they canceled the tournament, we were seeing about an eighth of the cases that they are per day right now. So, like, it is a big deal. It's different in different countries all over the world, but Japan is not having a good time right now.
Yeah,
So
and
it's warranted to at least have it in the news.
Yeah, and I think the results of like the PCR test that they do before every Basho will be a big determining factor on if it will be held. Sounds like they got the results back from all the Oyakata and kind of like the JSA staff. Everybody came back negative. The Rikishi will be tested within a day or so, and so hopefully all of those tests come back negative, and we won't have any absences from the tournament. It's probably a lot to hope for, but we'll hope for it anyway. So let's start talking about who will actually be competing in this Basho by talking about two people who will not be competing in this Basho.
I kind of want to know what the timestamp's going to be when we talk about someone who's actually going to wrestle.
Right.
Might set a new record for how deep into the show we get.
So as we mentioned, Hakuho is sidelined due to having another knee surgery. He stated at the end of the Haru Basho that he is not going to be competing until Nagoya, and that Nagoya will be his make or break Basho. So if he doesn't do well in Nagoya, he will retire. So we will talk more about that for our Nagoya preview in 2 months. And then, as everybody should know at this point, Kakuryu has retired, and so this will be the last mention of him on this podcast ad infinitum. So no more Kakuryu talk on this
Wait,
podcast.
what?
Yeah, of course. Just like we've never brought up Goedo since he retired, or Kiseno Sato. Just
Who?
Yeah, exactly. Once they retire, they're out of our minds forever.
Oh, no.
We only have room for 42 Rikishi in our heads at all times. And so if you're not in Makauchi, we don't know who you are.
Fact.
That's right. We here at GSP know more about Aqua than we do Kiseno Sato.
All right. So, Flarek, with this being another Nokozuna Basho, what have been your feelings over the past 4 tournaments that have all been, besides the 2 Hakuho matches in Haru, Nokozuna Bashos? Are you feeling that like more Yokozuna equals it's more exciting and anybody can win, or no Yokozuna means feels like something's missing and it's just not as good as it could be?
Besides the 2 Hakuho matches, you just know that those are like my peak excitement for the last couple of Bashos.
Yeah.
Now it's tough. I think overall these like been having some really hype storylines going to these Bashos, so I thoroughly enjoyed it. But the Nokozuna has definitely been kind of a little bit kind of lesser expectations in the beginning because we kind of expect them to show up when we start the Basho. But as soon as we get over that, the whole Ozeki or whether or not the Ozeki will possibly become Yokozuna was super exciting and engaging. So I'm definitely in the camp of these have just been fantastic. And we just have to kind of remember that I think we should kind of move to a state where Nokozuna is kind of where we're at right now and go into a Basho like that and just enjoy the fight for the top that is going on right now.
Yeah, I think I agree with that as far as moving into like, yeah, Yokozuna don't exist anymore. Like Hakuho probably show up in July and all likelihood that's going to be his last tournament. I think win, lose, or draw, that's Hakuho's last tournament. But yeah, I still feel like something is missing just because we don't really seem like we have an Ozeki that is on the cusp of being a Yokozuna, even after Takakeisho's Yusho win back in November.
Maybe Terunofuji.
Maybe we'll see.
He's
that
pretty hot right
still,
now.
He is, but that injury
pretty hot.
still scares me. He's probably the top contender to do it right now, I think. But I still feel like nobody's quite on that cusp yet, because even though he won the Yusho last time, it was still a 12-3 Yusho. Right. I think you're still wanting to see at least 13 wins to be considered kind of for a rope run if you're winning as an Ozeki. So I still feel like that a little something is missing, and I don't know how long it's going to be till it comes back. It might not be ever, because we're never going to see a Hakuho again. We're never going to see that top level of dominance that when we started watching sumo was always there. And so I don't know. I'm sure somebody will come up and replace that feeling, but it just seems like it might be a little while until we have that kind of unbeatable figure that you're kind of either rooting for every day or rooting against every day.
Yeah, I kind of agree. And I mean, Asanoyama has been like the kind of default most likely pick, the top pick for damn, man. Just knocking shit all over the place. Stupid cat. Don't get a cat.
Get 2 cats.
Yeah. And don't let them in the room with you podcast. What's he getting into? Okay, he's good over there. But Asanoyama has kind of been like the presumptive pick for so long, but like he's, even when he's like in form, yeah, he's like 10, 11, 12 wins. Is 12 the most he's ever gotten? Yeah.
Yes, I think
12.
even when he won his U show, it was 12-3.
And he's gotten a couple 11s and such since then. But like, there's moments like where, who is it? Terutsuyoshi just like dumped him on his butt, super humiliating fashion. Like
Right.
things like that just don't happen in what our minds tell us a Yokozuna should be, right?
I will reference you to the very last match that Kakuryu ever fought.
Oh yeah, okay, fair.
There's also the Yoshikaze bout with Hakuho when
That
Which one is
the
that?
Mata,
yeah,
where
the
Hakuho
Mata
thought it was
that
a Mata.
yep.
Fair
so
enough.
Yoshikaze fired off good Tachiai, but Hakuho stood up and tapped him on the shoulder, but the Gyoji didn't call Mata, so Yoshikaze just kept going forward, pushed Hakuho out of the ring, and the Gyoji pointed to Yoshikaze, and Hakuho refused to go up and bow because he's like, that was a Mata. That was a Mata, right? And just kept dragging his feet and waiting, but nobody did anything.
Yeah,
That was really weird.
I loved it.
Maybe here's an idea. What if we pretend, just for the sake of argument, to see how we feel by the end of the tournament? What if we like keep track? All right,
I
I'm
saw
gonna
that
banish him
building
as
up.
soon as
That was good.
Yep, here it goes.
I saw that whole build up as Panther the cat was knocking stuff off the table.
Yes.
It's
I
great.
appreciate the narration because I forget that most people are still not going to watch the video. They're going to watch, or they're going to listen to the podcast. But
Yep.
and there he goes.
Yeah. I'm just bringing a level of professionalism to the podcast.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
Now he's chewing on my bass strings. I can hear it. I'm kicking him out after I finish making this point.
Good
So
call.
what if just for the fun of it, by the end of the tournament, let's see how we feel, pretending that all 4 of these Ozeki are Yokozuna. How many gold?
Oh,
stars
Shodai
do
should
they-
retire.
Well, yeah. But should have retired last time. Yeah. But no, like let's just look at it like that. Like how many gold stars do they give up? Or, what's their record against each other? Just like maybe we play that as like a little exercise to see like, does anybody feel like they actually belong there, even if they haven't earned it with the 2 U shows or something.
I'm going to
might
write
be
that
fun.
down.
Good,
Go ahead,
because I'm
Mac.
not. I got to get rid of this stupid cat.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea, and we'll transition into our conversation about the 4 Ozeki, and we're going to start with the newest Ozeki, the reigning Yusho champion Teru no Fuji, who was promoted to Ozeki for the 2nd time in his career, doing it the hard way both times after he won the previous Basho. Don't remember off the top of my head how many wins he has over the previous 3 tournaments to get that Ozeki win.
36.
36.
Yep,
Yeah, so
36.
that's probably the best Ozeki run that we've seen, except for Tochinoshin, who I think had 37 or 38 in
Yeah.
his Ozeki run. But
Yeah.
yeah, very definitive run for him. So he's very clearly been the top guy in sumo since he has come back. He's gotten a couple of tournaments with 13 wins in there, which is, I mean, probably more 13-win Bashos over the past 5 than anybody else in sumo.
Yeah.
So
I would say he's the probably the best wrestler we have now on the Bansuke.
Yep, that wouldn't be too much of a stretch. I
With
would
the
agree
asterisk
with
of Kakuho, who's not in it.
yeah.
Well, okay.
With the
We're not
asterisk of the
qualifying.
one guy who is for sure the best guy on the bunch.
Exactly.
Other than
exactly.
him.
yeah. And so
I
he
know what you mean.
he has stated that his goal is to become Yokozuna. I think we discussed this a little bit on our recap episode, maybe, because most people's probably like, well, duh, of course he wants to be Yokozuna. But there have been arguments about, like, well, he should really just kind of take it easy now, think about his future health with his knees and not push it too hard to become a Yokozuna. And then there's people like me who are just like, no, always try to be the best. And if you're okay with your knees not working in the future, then who am I to tell you you're wrong?
But no matter what, of course he's gonna say that his goal is the Yokozuna.
Oh,
so
of
like
course,
that's
of course.
I never really put any stock into that. Like even if he is somebody who wants to take it easy or something like that, which I think would go against his character. He's
Yeah.
not gonna say that to the press or something, right?
Right.
I'm an Ozeki now, so I'm just gonna go
just
easy
gonna
for a little
coast.
while.
Yeah.
You'll see me every other Basho. Peace.
Peace.
8-7, 7-8. We got this.
I'm outie. See you in July.
Yeah. So Mac, with that in mind, do you think that Teruno Fuji takes that first step to becoming a Yokozuna this Basho with either a Yusho win or a Yusho equivalent?
I think, given the current state of the field right now with Takakeisho, Shodai, and Asanoyama, yeah, I think at least at this point, it's his to lose. The only thing I am worried about are those knees. But if the last tournament was any indication, I think he's okay. I think he's got this. So I think that with this tournament, I think we are going to see a step toward that Yokozuna run. Now, as I say that, I have cursed every single Ozeki I have ever thought positively of this year. So take that for what you will.
There is a real possibility that we have Yokozuna Teruno Fuji by Kyushu the end of the year.
That would be
Yeah,
awesome.
do you think I guess point of order on the actual requirements? If he went 15-0, would that do it? You think?
No, I think it has to be
Does it
with
have to be
Ozeki.
2 as Ozeki?
It's got to be
think so.
consecutive.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
think especially because the last one was just 12 wins.
It wasn't like blowing the doors off of everybody, but like
12 wins, even with a Yusho, isn't necessarily like Yokozuna level, I think,
Yeah,
in their
sure.
minds.
But he is coming off a hell of a run.
Oh,
Of where it's-
absolutely.
Like back in July of 2020, Yusho. Then he had the tournament off, but then he had Jun Yusho. He took forward an Ozeki promotion.
Mhm.
He's killing it right now.
if he was already Ozeki, there would probably be the debate of should he be Yokozuna like right now. But I mean that 12 wins probably, that might be a discouragement. But like regardless, it would at least be in the conversation if he did Jun Yusho.
Yeah,
Right.
Especially if he had flipped his 11-4 Jun Yusho with the 13-2 playoff loss Jun Yusho, and he had the playoff loss followed by the Yusho.
Like
that would be a-
escalating each time.
Yeah, that would be
Absolutely.
a lot stronger argument because then you would have the Yusho equivalent plus a Yusho. If he were Ozeki, that would be a pretty decent
Yeah.
argument for Yokozuna.
I gotcha.
But he was Sekiwake, so obviously doesn't count. It is weird. Like it's the same exact accomplishment against the same people that it would be if he was Ozeki.
Yeah,
But
Right.
it counts different. But I mean, I get it because their line of thinking is the pressure is different when you're a Sekiwake versus Ozeki. You have a lot more responsibility as an Ozeki. You're at the top of the class. It's a lot different being the top dog than being the underdog and like your mindset going into a match. So
Yeah, but underdog being what it is, you still go through a hellacious schedule.
Mhm.
oh yeah. The schedule's the same, but the mindset is different. So I could see that in their mind why you have to be Ozeki in order for the consideration.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
The hard matches are front loaded when you're kind of below Ozeki, and it's kind
Mhm.
of back loaded for the Ozeki and Yokozuna.
And I mean, also, there's just the idea that you have to clear each individual boundary one at a time.
Right.
Otherwise, I mean, yeah, he'd be an Ozeki or whatever, like in his first tournament back or whatever, whatever. But regardless, yeah, I think that I think all eyes are on him for sure, and there's a reason we're talking about him first.
All right, so let's go to the other end of the spectrum when it comes to Ozeki, and that is Shodai. He is going to be Kadoban for the second time in his 3 Basho stints as an Ozeki, as he had a 7-8 record in the Haru Basho. I haven't seen any reports regarding if he was injured at all during that tournament. I don't think so. It just looked like not great sumo. Can only assume that he's going to be competing at this point. once again, don't know why he wouldn't be. So, Jake, do you think Shodai will be an Ozeki after this Basho?
I do. I think barring anything catastrophic, last time he didn't look good, obviously, but it wasn't the case that it was obvious, like, he was limping on a specific joint, or, it wasn't like there wasn't anything that kept him out day to day, which gives me hope that whatever was bothering him will be recovered by now. Or at least recovered enough to do a little better. I do think that it's very possible that he doesn't clear the 7 wins, but I think it's more likely that he does get the 8 wins. But yeah, I mean, Shodai's career is so weird because he's been like a Joy mainstay for like a number of years, but starting this tournament, he will have the same number of Ozeki tournaments, which feels like it happened yesterday, as he ever had Sekiwake tournaments. He was only Sekiwake 4 tournaments, and Komosubi did. Holy crap! Has he ever been ranked Komosubi? 1 time. He was ranked Komosubi 1 time, Sekiwake 4 times. That's really strange to me. That then he just rocketed straight to Ozeki and has just been completely middling since then, except for that 11-4 Junyu show that he had as an Ozeki. I don't know. I don't know what to say, man. He's one of the weirder guys to predict for me, but I do think that it's most likely that he would probably get 8 to 10. That's kind of where I'm thinking he should be.
I don't know. I think he is a very strong contender to possibly get demoted this time. I mean, we basically have the same slate of competition that he was going up against last time, as pretty much all the Sanyaku is the same. And then you have Hokuto Fuji, Wakataka Kage, Meisei, who all got 9 or 10 wins in the Joy last time. They're still in the Joy. They're not going up against any different competition either. So if you just look at the Sanyaku and those 3 guys, that's, I think, a total of like 10 easy possible losses right there. Like, you wouldn't be surprised if Shodai lost any of those at this point based on Wakataka Kage and Meisei's performance in the previous Basho. So if it wasn't an injury thing for Shodai last time, which we don't really have any reason to think it was an injury thing that caused him to have a bad record, there's no reason to think that the performance this time would be much different.
I think you might have swayed me because I went back and looked at that 11-4 that he had in January, and here's a bunch of his wins: Ryuden, Okinoumi, Endo, Tamawashi, Onosho, Takara Fuji, Kodo Shoho. Those guys have all fared very poorly since then.
I was about to say, you didn't name a gunner in there at all.
Well, no, I was naming off like his wins that I think are kind of weak wins. And that's most of them.
like a powerful or impressive win. You didn't.
That's what I mean. Yeah, like no, I was listing those off because they, in retrospect, look like kind of bummers of wins. Oof. So yeah, I think you may have swayed me that the strength of schedule puts this a lot more in jeopardy for him. I don't know. I kind of want to sit on the fence and say that, he's like going to be somewhere between 6 and 9 wins, at best.
Mm-hmm. Flarek, how secretly happy will you be if Shodai drops from the Ozeki rank after this Basho?
It will be what I have always expected. So. Neither happy nor sad, just what I expect.
Unsurprised and indifferent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just kind of looking at the Bansuke a little bit more, if you look at the Joy, like typically when we're doing like our chump predictions, we're probably looking first at the Joy. Who's there for the first time? There's only one guy that's up there for the first time, and that's Tobizaru. Like the other guys that we didn't mention, like Aoyama's coming off an 11-4 record last time, and Aoyama's been around the block. Like nobody's surprised if Aoyama beats Shodai. Chiyo no Kuni, don't know about him. I think we kind of talked about on the Bansuke review episode. He kind of gets blasted whenever he's up this high in the Bansuke. Mm-hmm. But I mean, he certainly looked really good since he's come back. So Tobizaru might be the only gimme there, but we've seen Tobizaru do a lot of damage before. I think he's beaten Takakeisho. So yeah, compared to some previous Bansukes and who is up in the Joy, it definitely seems like a lot stronger competition for Shodai just overall for this tournament. There's not a whole lot of dips down to like, oh yeah, Shimanumi, I can beat that guy. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Asanoyama and Takakeisho. Both of these guys coming in healthy, and both are going to be continuing to face rising expectations since we are now more than ever on new Yokozuna watch. And I think alongside Teruno Fuji, those two are the top contenders. So, Mac, I want to start with you. Out of these two, who do you think will do better, but who do you want to see do better in this Basho, and why?
I want Asanoyama to do better because that will have proven he's over that mental block that has been plaguing him for the past couple tournaments. I don't know what it is, but I want to see him bust through it.
And what about you, Flerk?
I guess of those two, I feel like I'm kind of I see more. I think I see better performance from Takakeisho. I think lately, like I still have that metric of Asanoyama. Once he beats Teruno Fuji, I think he's gonna start being a contender, but that just hasn't happened yet. So I guess I'm liking what I see from Takakeisho. I want him to do better, so I'll pick that guy.
Jake?
I think if we're talking what I want to have happen, it's got to be
Which we are.
Yokozuna Takakeisho, because I want to watch the entire sumo community lose their collective shit over him, like actually succeeding to the maximum level with just his pushing and thrusting.
Yeah, I'm with Jake 100%. I want to see
Purely for the
Takakeisho
trolls?
do well. I don't know 100% know how to pronounce the word, but like Schadenfreude or something like
Schadenfreude.
Yeah.
what Mac said.
I'm not sure Mac had it either, but we'll go with it.
It sounded more German than what I said. So
That's fair.
But yeah, just one, I've always liked Takakeisho, so seeing him be Yokozuna would be fantastic all on its own. But then, yeah, just watching or seeing a lot of people be upset. It's like, but he's only a pusher thruster. He
But is
can't
he
be
any good?
Yokozuna. Yeah.
I don't know. Is he
Yeah.
any good though?
Yeah.
I was
Hey,
like,
Akebono and Musashimaru were Yokozuna. They
Yeah,
were
that's
fucking
true.
Good.
yeah, but T-Rex arms. He can't be Yokozuna with short arms.
I think let me check here. I think Akebono might have been literally a foot taller than Takakeisho.
I think that sounds right. That's fine. I'll carry the only Asanoyama flag. That's all right.
Not that I want to see Asanoyama do badly, just I like Takakeisho more.
Fair enough.
All right, so while Jake is looking up Akebono and Takakeisho's
Oh no, I'm not
heights-
doing it.
Oh,
Oh.
all right.
No,
Fair
I
enough.
know that Akebono was 6'8", and Takakeisho, I'd be shocked if he's more than 5'8".
All right, so let's all go on record here and say what order we think the Ozeki will finish, based purely on record this Basho. So I am going in with Takakeisho as who I think will do best in this tournament, and I am going to go with Asanoyama here. I do, despite thinking that Shodai is going to have a losing record, I think it's too soon for Teruno. I'm going to go with Teruno Fuji.
The anguish on your face.
Like Takakeisho, Asanoyama, and Shodai all were like Kyujo, like within their first one or two Basho as an Ozeki. I really want Teruno Fuji to buck that trend. So I'm going to say like a 10-5 record for Teruno Fuji this time, not quite at the level we've been seeing. And then I'll go with Shodai. So I got Takakeisho, Asanoyama, Teruno Fuji, and Shodai. What about you, Mac?
For me, I'm also leading off like you are. I'm going Takakeisho as the front runner, definitely for this one. And until I can see more from Asanoyama, I have to rank Teruno Fuji ahead. So following right on Takakeisho's heels would be Teruno Fuji. And then on his heels, Asanoyama and Shodai bringing up the rear. I after his last performance, there's something wrong. I don't know what it is. And I don't know if Shodai knows what it is, but I don't have confidence in him this time.
Yeah, I'm worried that like he was on such a hot streak and that maybe just like the one false step that he had in a 7-8 record might be enough for him to be like, oh no, maybe I'm not actually this good.
You never know. Hey, you never know.
Dr. Ryan over here,
Yeah.
going all sports medicine.
Hey, I'm telling you, Asanoyama, there's something wrong in his head. That's why he hasn't won a U show and become a Yokozuna yet.
Yep.
But he's
okay,
one
there
of
you
you
go.
show.
He has one
As
of
an
you.
Ozeki, though.
Yeah.
Good call. Good call.
Jake, what about you?
I'm gonna take Max backwards.
What?
No, I'm kidding. I think no. I think I don't know. Teruno Fuji. I bring it up every time I talk about him. I'm worried that he's gonna just fall to pieces at any moment. But let's go with him. I do think that he's impressed me enough recently that I think that I got to jump on the train. The other three guys, I think that it's likely that two of them will do okay and one of them will do poorly. And I will stand by some names, but my reasoning here is that just all three of these guys seem to be somewhat consistent, except for they blow it every now and then. I think that the middle tier, I'm going to go with Shodai, then Asanoyama. And I think Takakeisho is my pick for the guy to blow it this time.
Ooh.
I do think that it's realistic that any of the four of them could completely blow it. I also think that it's likely that one of the four will win the Yusho. But I think that these are all like pretty close odds here. And I think that there's not a ton of information out there for us to pick specifically.
Yeah,
so I'll go Teruno Fuji, Shodai, Asanoyama, Takakeisho.
And because the four of us all firmly believe within our hearts that any one of those four Ozeki could just blow it in any given tournament, is why none of them are Yokozuna.
Exactly.
Yep. That's fair.
All right, Fleck, what about you?
All right. I think all of you are crazy except for Jake. Teruno Fuji is obviously the best wrestler on the Banzuke right now. He's been Ozeki before. He's not going to have an Ozeki hangover. Like, he has some experience. Like, he knows how to pace himself with all of that sake. He's going to come in, he's going to prepare. He's going to not have all those crazy parties. Well, some, but not as many.
Some.
And he's going to come out swinging because he's going for that rope. After that, like the middle field, I firmly believe is Asanoyama Takakeisho show. With Takakeisho, I think above Asanoyama at the moment. And Shodai is just, I think he's kind of, I don't know.
3 out of 4 of us have him last place.
I read
Yeah.
a
3 out of
training
4.
report last week of where he went against Yutakiyama, like 10 bouts. And he said like, oh yeah, I think I lost like 3. And I'm like, oh, Shodai.
Yutakiyama's in Juryo, buddy.
Yeah, he's Juryo guy.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes. But he did also say like, I'm a Kadoban Ozeki, and Kadobans are super strong. So he might get the Kadoban buff to get him to 8.
The Kadoban buff.
That'd be something interesting to kind of dig into and do the research. Like what the overall percentage of an Ozeki having a winning record in any given tournament is, and compare that to an Ozeki having a winning percentage in Kadoban tournaments.
Fine.
I've got it written down. We got Kadoban buff.
Fine, I'll do it. I love
you,
how.
Jake.
I mean, I knew that tone. It's like, what about a research project on numbers?
I easily
Jake?
could do that myself. I do quite a bit at that at my own job. So
That's
I
a
have
good
no
point.
issue doing
And-
it.
Yes.
And you are very well versed in sumo DB googling.
You
for
already said you were
figuring that.
doing it, so my hands are clean.
Yeah, right. Fine. I rescind my compliments. You're gonna have to pay us $1 into the Patreon if you want more compliments from me.
I'll have my wife sign up to use my money. All right. So let's move on to the rank of Sekiwake, where as our top Sekiwake, we have Takayasu. And as I had mentioned before, this is the time where we're going to twist that knife in Jake's gut just a little bit more as we ask him, as a Takayasu fan, does how he performed overall in the previous Basho give you hope coming into Natsu that he could be a front runner?
Wow. We're
I'm
back to
getting
2020.
flashbacks to last year. Yeah. Or does it give you reason to worry that he went 1-4 in the final 5 days with a 2-win lead and lost then by 2 wins and just completely choked the Basho away and pissed it down his leg?
Wow. For one.
Wow. Jeez.
Just giving everybody the complete context.
And
Ouch.
And even with that though, his last 3 tournaments are all at Komusubi. He got 8 wins, then he got 9 wins, and then he got 10 wins.
Ooh.
Which means if I know anything about numbers that are becoming one larger than the number before them, I think he's going to go 14-1 and win the Yusho this time. No, he's had top level competition 3 times in a row, and he's proven that he is if not 100% healthy, he's at least back to his previous like pre-Ozeki form. He had a rather fraught Ozeki run or like Ozeki career when he was actually at Ozeki, but early in our sumo watching years before we actually started recording, I think he was like a decent. He spent like a year as Sekiwake Komusubi and was just like, you know, a complete mainstay. He did the job. He was doing great. I feel like I feel like he's right at the border of, if he is healthy, if he is back to form, he's like right at the bottom of like Ozeki, like where you need to be an Ozeki. So I think that he's still got enough years on him. He's only 31. He's not, you know, he's not overly he's not like 35 or something like that, right? So I do think that he's got a couple more years where he's going to potentially hit Ozeki again. I don't think he'll ever be Yokozuna. He might get Ozeki again, but I do think that he is within the realm that he should stay in the Sanyaku ranks for a while. I do legitimately think that he could get 11 wins as the pattern would predict, but I am expecting at least 9.
Yeah, I mean, that's fairly safe.
Fair.
Yep. All right, so let's talk about Takanosho a little bit. I think we can just chalk him up for an 8-7 record.
Okay.
Jake says no.
No, that's good.
But so I was curious how Takanosho has done as Sekiwake against each rank. I just want to see, like, is he really racking up all of his wins against lesser opponents and losing to all of the higher ranked guys? So I did do a little bit of statistics myself, Jake. I can do that. And so in my research of his previous Basho as a Sekiwake, he is winless against Yokozuna. A complete scrub when it comes to Yokozuna competition with a 0-0 record.
I was about to say, like, has he faced any?
He hasn't beaten any. A little more worrisome, he is 0-4 against Ozeki. So he is winless against the Ozeki. So that's not good. But after that, he is 2-1 against Sekiwake. And the only other Sekiwake that he's really been facing over that time is mainly Teru no Fuji, and I think one Mitake Yumi in there. So having a winning record there isn't bad. 4-1 against this Komusubi competition and 19-14 against Maegashira. So it really does seem like Takanosho is at kind of his natural spot on the Bansuke right now based on who he is beating and who he is losing to. He's completely winless against everybody above him and has a winning record against everybody below him. So seems like Takanosho really is right where he should be, but it also doesn't seem like he's anywhere close to knocking on the door of going any higher at this point.
Not yet.
Yeah, he did kind of turn a corner. Like he was in Makushita for years. And then he kind of turned a corner in 2017. He was Juryo for a while. And then just out of nowhere at the end of 2019, he just decided he was going to be good. And just rocketed straight up here and has been sitting at the top. So it's not impossible that there's another like weird complete shift in his entire career that pushes him over that edge. Maybe he could be an Ozeki someday, but the form we've seen is just like it's comparable to Mitake Yumi, right? You know, the forever Sanyaku type.
I mean, there's worse places to find your comfort level on the Bansuke.
Yeah, he's only top 10 in the world at like, you know, a purely merit-driven rank. You know, like I get it. That's fine. That's great. But like, I don't know. I think it would take another change almost as radical as the previous one for him to make it up to Ozeki.
Yeah, another top Rikishi to join his stable. Then he'd be good to go.
I mean, he's already got Takakeisho.
Well, yeah, that was right around that time, wasn't that? Isn't that right, Fleric?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of elevated him.
Yep.
I
Well, he
forgot
like
about
left
that.
when the Takanohana stable collapsed, and so he joined the other one. And he's like, "Hey, you train with me." It's like, okay.
What would you guys prefer? Do you like the sumo stable where you're locked in where you are at, or would you like to see like American sports, like free agency? You could sign whoever you want to your stable and stuff like that. What do you guys think works better? I know Americanizing sumo wrestling, not going to happen, but just curious, like your guys' thought on that. I haven't put a whole lot of thought into it. Initially, I think, no, I don't like that because then it's just the rich staying richer. But then again, it's also not a team sport. So it makes it different that it's just one Oyakata amassing talent at one spot, and iron sharpens iron. So maybe you get some really good people that way. I don't know. What are you guys' thoughts?
This is a whole can of worms.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, wow, there are a lot of trains of thought with this
Yeah.
one.
This
There
is an
are-
industrial-sized oil drum of worms here.
Exactly. Yeah. But
You
I
mean
guess
you need more
quickly.
than no time to think about your response?
Yeah. Well, I guess very quickly kind of stuff is like I definitely am. There should be more movement. Be able to move between stables because I think doing the lottery saying, hey, I think this stable is good, but then all of a sudden you find out partway through it's like, oh no, this trainer, the Oyakata I thought was like a fantastic trainer, is actually not here all the time. Well, we don't know if that's that we yeah.
Was that the stable where everyone ran away? Is that the one that you're referencing?
I think that I don't remember off the top of my head,
I
but
don't remember how that resolved, anyways.
it's kind the situation is just the situation that was like some weird like the Oyakata was like super sick, and so
Yeah.
the Okami-san
Mhm.
was there, and she was kind of running stuff little too strictly, they thought, so
Yep.
they ran away.
Yeah.
But I think there should be a way you can go to a different stable if a certain coach is not working for you the style you want to learn. You should be able to go somewhere else to learn that and not just leave the pro sumo entirely. I think that's crazy. But also, I think there's huge stables where you get into it. If you have a bunch of talent at the top, you can't face against people in your current stables. Very similar to Taka no Hana during the 90s. He was a Yokozuna, but like he didn't have to face a lot of the joy. Like he was going down to like Mike 6 or so for matches. So I think there needs to be kind of a balance, but I think being able to move between stables, I think is very important.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Was if you have to have like a chart of who's in which stable because there's so many of those matches up at the top that can't happen. That sounds awful.
Mhm.
Ryan knows this a lot when he was trying to figure out
The
during
Torikumi, yeah.
Torikumi for when we had the Natsu Basho last year.
Yeah.
Shit sucks, yo. So let's talk about our Komosubi. Initially, I was just gonna breeze past Mitaki Yumi and just be like, yeah, Mitaki Yumi's gonna Mitaki Yumi. But we did actually, one of the few like training quotes that I've heard this off season was from Mitaki Yumi, and he says that he wants to get double digits and is thinking of nothing else. But he also did say that he has a problem with heavier rikishi like Takayasu and needs to work on speed sense. And this is from a Nikon Sports article that was translated by @sumofollower on Twitter. So I did a little bit more research, Jake, to see how
Wow, Ryan.
how he has done in his career against what we kind of think of as the heaviest rikishi. And so start off, who's the heaviest guy that you think of? My mind always immediately goes to Ichinojo.
Yeah.
10-4 against Ichinojo. Not bad. Then the next heaviest guy you think of, probably Kaisei. 1-7 against Kaisei. And then Aoyama, 4-4 against him. Terunofuji, 3-8. Tokushoryu, 2-1. Tochinoshin, 6-8. And then Takayasu, the guy that he mentioned, he's 6-17 against Takayasu.
It does not seem like a super strong pattern.
No, I would say maybe lower center of gravity would be the better way of saying that.
I just don't think there's enough of a pattern there. Like Asanoyama is kind of big, and Mitakiyumi is 6-4 against him.
Yeah, and like Takakeisho, I mean, he's short, but he's a heavy buddy. I think they're like 10-10 against each other. But yeah, I think the Ichinojo is really throwing it off, but he does have a losing record against most of those guys. But yeah, not enough to deem a pattern necessarily, but I did think that was interesting that he says that he has a problem with heavier rikishi, and there is some data to back that up, but it's obviously not an ironclad case.
Like regardless, though, it's his perception is that he has a problem against the big ones, and that's probably just as important as the data.
Yeah. And I mean, we mentioned some of the big ones that he fights every Basho at this point. Takayasu's in there. Terunofuji is in there. Like you mentioned, Asanoyama's not a small guy. Takakeisho's not a small guy. So might be the reason he is not an Ozeki yet, because he is afraid of the big boys. And then he did have another quote regarding Hibikiryu, who they were both the same age. And so he had matches with Hibikiryu during school. And he said, injury can't be helped, but it reminded me we need to be prepared and avoid it as much as possible. So not a whole lot of substance there. I like to think that his statement of we need to be prepared in regards to injury was a subtle shot at the JSA. But I know sumo wrestlers better than that. and I think he's just talking about personal preparation for injury.
Yeah.
I would love to believe he was taking a shot at the JSA there.
Yeah, I totally agree. I
Don't
think
think
it's
so.
more likely he meant like, as a wrestler, I need to be prepared to be injured because it
Mhm.
can't be helped. I don't like that sentiment, but like I at least can get a pretty good understanding of where he's coming from, I think.
And he did say avoid it as much as possible. And we talked about a little bit in the most recent injury episode we did how one Oyakata talked about like training guys not to put their hands down if they're like to like land on your head basically, and maybe him saying to avoid injury as much as possible. Maybe that's something in the back of his mind now, that maybe he'll try to cushion his falls a little bit more. Maybe it'll cost you a match, but it'll save you your life. So let's move on to Daisho. And Flair, curious, which Daisho are you expecting this tournament? Are you expecting the 13-2 Yusho winning Daisho that we got in Hatsu, or are you expecting the 8-7 Daisho that started off 1-5 against the Sanyaku Rikshi that we had in Haru?
Yeah.
What's your gut feeling on Daisho this tournament?
My gut feeling is that the 13-2 Daisho was like an outlier. It was the stars must have aligned just right. He had just the right Chanko be able to pull that one off. And like I think he will be searching for that recipe for the rest of his career, but we'll see. I expect a 8-7, probably Kachikoshi, maybe just 8-7, but probably just kind of middle of the road is my expectations.
Yeah,
Technically, 12 wins would put him in the realm of Ozeki promotion, which I know that's not happening because he's only Komusubi, but he's been kind of screwed out of that Sekiwake twice in a row.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's a very silly situation, but yeah, I think Flarik's onto something there. But again, just like me and Ryan with Takakeisho, I kind of want to just see like what's the screwiest situation possible, which I think is what we both were rooting for last time in the back of our heads was
we were wanting him to stick it to the Bansuke committee.
yes, but yeah, but then he Daisho'd. The pendulum swung one direction, so it had to come back.
I mean, that was our one talking point on Daisho for most of this podcast is that he just does 8-7 and 7-8. So
Yeah.
apparently,
Oh, we know his name now.
Yes,
we know his name
Yes,
now.
we do know his name.
So Jake, you brought it up. I did want to talk about possible Ozeki runs and kind of rank them on a scale of not happening whatsoever to like, if I squint really hard, I still can't see it. Because
Nothing in between.
I still can't see it.
Or nothing better than that.
Everybody that's ranked Komusubi and Sekiwake this Basho are coming off of 2 winning tournaments, but I think we are at least 2 Basho away from an Ozeki promotion, if not 3 Basho away. And so you kind of take a look at it. Mitake Yumi is 9-6 and 8-7 at Komusubi. He's still at Komusubi, and so he needs 16 wins to get the 33 over 3 Basho. So even a 15-0 record, he'd still be short of that 33. But then none of the tournaments are at Sekiwake, so definitely not being promoted to Ozeki. Daisho, as you mentioned, Jake, he had a 13-2 record and an 8-7 record, but those were at Maegashira 1 and Komusubi. He's still at Komusubi, like you said. If he gets 12 wins, hey, that's 33 over 3 Basho. We've seen similar Ozeki runs to that. I think Goedo was very similar, where he had like an 8-7 sandwiched in between. It might have been a 13 and a 12 win Basho. I don't remember. But we've seen that combination of wins get a promotion to Ozeki. But since Daisho has not been at Sekiwake during this run at all, still not happening. Takayasu, he's 9-6 and 10-5 at Komusubi over the past 2 Basho. This is going to be his first one at Sekiwake. He needs 14 wins to get to 33 over 3 Basho, but this being his first one at Sekiwake, I don't think that's going to happen either.
I think that a Yusho would definitely impact that. So maybe 32 wins if it was a Yusho. I don't know. He's the only person in the entire thing here that has any shot of earning an Ozeki promotion this tournament. And even then, it's very slim. Obviously, like I'm not saying that he's got a good shot at it, but I cannot see anybody else who could make it a 5th Ozeki in July.
All right. I'm just doing real quick research here to see if we've ever had a Komusubi, then Sekiwake, then Ozeki.
Mhm.
And So it does look like we have seen that a few times in the modern sumo era. Most recently, Kaio in 2000. He was 14-1 at Komosubi, and then 11-4 at Sekiwake, and then the next Basho he was Ozeki. So I don't know if he had like previous history of being at like the Sekiwake ranks. So he had been Sekiwake for a while, dropped down, and then got that the Ozeki
But
promotion.
regardless, it's not like that completely disqualifies Takayasu that this
right,
is
and
his first
Takayasu
Sekiwake.
would kind of be in the same position. He's been Ozeki before, so
Yeah.
the fact that he would only be Sekiwake for one tournament would not outright disqualify him based on recent precedent.
Yeah. The only other people that I think are in the mix here, Wakataka Kage and Meisei, and Hokuto Fuji had 9 or 10 wins in the Joy. So if they performed really well here and went up to Sekiwake, that's the only other place that I could see anyone even being in the mix for this.
Yeah, but they'd need 2 Basho at this point.
Right. They would need to
Right.
do really well this time and one more.
Mhm.
Mathematically, I think Takayasu is the only one who could potentially be this time. But yeah, even still, I think it's safe to say Takayasu's a pretty low chance to get there, which puts us in a weird spot where we just kind of don't have anybody that has any potential for significant promotion this tournament, which
Right.
is very weird.
Yeah, I do think it would have to be probably like 14 or 15 wins for Takayasu. But yeah, now that I look at Kaio's promotion to Ozeki, him being Komosubi, Sekiwake, and I was looking to see, were they desperate for Ozeki at that time? They had 4 Ozeki in the tournament before him being promoted. They did have 1 demoted the next tournament, so they had 4 after Kaio was promoted as well. But it's not like they were starving for Ozeki at that time and were reaching to promote somebody. So maybe Takayasu does have more of a case for Ozeki than I thought, but I do think it's still fairly long shot, and more than likely he needs 2 good Basho to make that happen. And then the last one is Takanosho. He's been at Sekiwake this whole time, but he's had 9-6, 8-7. I don't think they're going to promote him with just, even if it's 15-0, I still think you probably want 2 double-digit records to be promoted to Ozeki there.
Yeah, probably.
All right, so let's talk more about some of the guys outside of these Sanyaku ranks. And let's start with Maegashira 1 through 3. Who do you guys think is going to have the best performance among all the guys ranked Maegashira 1 through 3? We'll start with Jake.
Just because I see you picked the other one I was thinking, I'm gonna go with Meisei here. He got 10-5 from basically the same guys that he was facing before. So yeah, I think out of all these guys, Aoyama is probably the only one. Aoyama and Hokuto Fuji are like the only guys out of this group of 6 that have any real experience at this rank. But I think Aoyama is getting old, and he got a huge promotion, so his competition will be much harder than it was before. And Hokuto Fuji, we just know that he's going to get 7 to 9 wins. So Meisei, I think if I'm not going to pick the guy that Ryan already took off the table here, just for variety's sake, I'll take Meisei.
Well, you can do that. I'm riding the Meisei bandwagon there. I think he's going to do the best between him and the other guy that Ryan chose.
Who shall not be named.
Who shall not be named.
Yeah,
yet.
so we'll just get that out of the open. I said Wakataka Kage because he was also 10-5 facing the same slate of people, and basically since he's been in the Makuuchi division, besides that one time where he got hurt after starting off 4-0, it's been an arrow pointing straight up for Wakataka Kage. Except for like 1 7-8 record his first time in the Joy. So I think that arrow is going to continue pointing up for Wakataka Kage, and I see good things ahead for him. What about you, Flerick?
They seem very comparable, at least with the recent schedule. They both beat 2 Ozeki and lost to 1, it looks like. But Meisei got the Fusen win, so I guess I'll give it to Wakataka Kage. I'll join your hype train, Ryan. Wakataka Kage got this.
Part of me wanted to choose Hokuto Fuji. I did look at his last performances after kind of being snubbed for a Sanyaku spot. I did see another quote from @sumo follower on Twitter from Hokuto Fuji, where he kind of acknowledged, like, yeah, I'm kind of used to having good records in the Joy and not getting up to the Sanyaku ranks now. It's kind of old hat for me. And so I kind of look to see how does he do after being snubbed. And he's got 2 losing records and then 1 winning record after getting snubbed from the
Odds are
Sanyaku
not in his
ranks.
favor.
Very small sample size, but enough to make me go with Wakataka Kage. All right, Jake, between the ranks of Maegashira 4 and Maegashira 6, who do you have your eye on this tournament?
My first thoughts go to Hoshoryu at his career high rank. He's not getting a complete rocket ship to the moon kind of promotion, so he's still moving up the ranks slowly, which is kind of what we wanted for somebody that we look at as a prospect. But he went from Maegashira 9 to Maegashira 5. So I'm excited for him. I still think he's got plenty of potential, and I got my eye on him. But also, as a side note, I got my eye on Miyogiryu, who is the stablemate of Hibikiryu. So that's I hope that doesn't affect him and distract him from his own performance, because I'm sure that outside the ring it is difficult as hell. So thoughts go out to him.
All right, Flerick, what about you? Who are you looking at between the ranks of Maegashira 7 and 9?
So when we were talking about this before the show, Jake said talk about the most boring like set of ranks completely. And yeah, because like there's six Rikishi total, and 5 of them are coming off losing records. So I guess I'm gonna go with Surigisho. Surigisho.
Surigisho?
Yeah, Surigisho. He had Juryo Yusho, I guess, a couple of Bashos ago, and he had a winning record on his first time up here. So he might keep on going up. We'll see.
Yeah, he's in prime position to get to a career high rank if he has a winning record, because his previous career high was Maegashira 7 back at the end of 2019. And yeah, I tasked myself with the ranks of Maegashira 10 through 13. If I was looking at the Bansuke before I assigned who was going to be talking about which ranks, I would have given myself probably Jake's slate of ranks, because my God, the middle of this Bansuke is just all the people we never talk about. So I'm looking at Terutsu Yoshi. He's our salt boy. He hasn't been the same. He got a 12-3 record with a June Yusho a couple years back, but he really hasn't been the same since then. I really want to see him kind of recapture that fire. I took a look to see like what his style of sumo was that tournament that he got the 12-3 record, and his first win was a Hiki Otoshi, and then the next 11 wins were either Oshidashi or Oshitaoshi. And then since then he's been a lot more inconsistent with his Kimarite, which isn't a bad thing. It's good to be variable, but clearly when Terutsu Yoshi is at the top of his game, he's a guy that's going to push you out of the ring. And so like to see if he can get back to that powerful performance that he had in that Basho.
Or he's going to do some crafty leg trip.
Ashitori leg pick.
He's going to try it a handful of times. Minimum.
Yeah, that is peak Terutsu Yoshi right there for me.
Yeah, he'll start off 11-0, and then he'll start getting matched up with some of the higher ranked guys, and then he's going to ruin Asanoyama's Basho once again by leg picking him. And then the other guy, Aki Sayama, he against all the odds, he has caught my attention, and I want him to do well.
You don't like it.
He sure is recognizable. He's got that going for him.
Indeed.
I hate that Aki Sayama has endeared himself to me, but go old flabby man, go do well.
What happened to our unified front of body shaming on this podcast? What we used to have something together.
It's gone.
We still have Aoyama for that.
Oh,
that's less of a unified front, but good point.
Yeah.
It's fair.
And
I'm
still shaming his body shape. I just enjoy him for it.
Jeez. Well, from the M14 to M17 rank, there were 2 of note, and I think you all know at least one who I was going to talk about. My boy Chiyomaru coming back up. Happy to see him in there. Hopefully he stays around. But the one that I'm really focusing in on for this one is Ishiura, because Hakuho's out, Enho is still down in Juryo, so Ishiura's representing right now. So I want to see if that incredible physique that he managed to sculpt for himself in the last tournament can see him through to a Kachikoshi win for this tournament.
There's an awesome picture of Miyagi no stable on Twitter. I can't remember who posted it, but it had all the rikishi with the top two guys, other than Hakuho, who was not in the picture. They had the top two guys in the stable in the middle. So there's like, these massive 6-foot behemoths. And then boom, the two guys in the middle are Enho and Ichiura. It was so fucking funny. But like it's just silly to me that like out of that stable, like the two smallest guys that we have in like the top ranks here. I mean, there's a couple other guys that are similarly small, but they're in the same stable. They're both so tiny and somehow so successful. It's so cool.
I love it. I love it.
All right, so let's talk ever so briefly about what is going on below the Makuuchi division. As we talked about, we don't have the brain power to comprehend all of the names below Makuuchi. A couple that ring a slight bell in the back of our minds are Enho and Ura.
Oh, I know them.
They are ranked J1 and J2 respectively, and 8-7 record would guarantee Enho back in Makuuchi for July, and an 8-7 could be enough for Ura as well. You've got Oho, who is Taiho's grandson, is back in the Juryo division. His brother Mudoho is hot on his heels, though. He is at Makushita 20, so he is quickly rising the ranks as well. Abi is up to the promotion range in Makushita. He is at Makushita 7. So if the luck falls his way, or just if he just wins the Makushita Yusho for the second straight Basho, which is probably likely to happen, he'll be up in Juryo for the next tournament.
Apparently Sho Hozan, it must have been a dream that he retired.
Correct.
Sho Hozan is apparently still trucking. This will be number 4 in a row in Juryo for him.
Oh, wow.
Koto Yuki has retired.
No, I knew that. I
we
threw
knew
a
that.
party for that one. Good riddance, you rat bastard.
I don't remember if we talked about that on one of the main episodes. I think we probably brought it up on the Bonsuke episode. But yeah, Koto Yuki, bane of Jake's existence when we first started watching sumo wrestling, has retired after a string of injuries.
I do already miss him though. I feel like I'm sure you felt after Goedo retired. It's just empty. And what's the X-Men meme? Who is that? Where he's like touching
Wolverine.
The picture? Yeah.
Yeah.
That meme. Yes, that's my feelings.
And our final note for below the Makuuchi, Shonan Zakura, former Hattori Zakura, is up to a career high rank of Jonokuchi 9 as he is riding his current 90 match losing streak up the Bonsuke, because there are 33 new recruits joining this Basho that all need to be ranked below him. So by that virtue alone, he is up to his career.
Right
high rank.
on. Right on.
Oh.
Now win. Now prove us all wrong and get a Kachikoshi. You can do it.
No, he can't.
I physically
I
don't
want
think he
this.
can.
I want him. I want faith. I want faith.
He literally does not have enough wins for a Kachikoshi in his career.
I want this one to be the first. Come on.
He is 3, 224, and 1.
Ugh.
So I was looking at like height.
So there's still a chance.
I was looking at heights and weights earlier today when I was trying to figure out like who are the heavy people that Mitaki Yumi has faced. I'm like, I wonder how small Shonan Zakura is. And he is 82 kilograms. But there is a guy that is just joining sumo at 15 years old that is 69 kilograms. And I think he is, I don't know why that surprised me, but should have expected that. But I think he,
Dude, that's like 155 pounds.
No, sorry. There's one in Jonidan that is 65 kilograms.
Whoa.
146.
Uru Tora. He's been around
Holy
for
cow.
a good while. But yeah, he's a tiny little fella.
I think I
Shonan
could
Zakura
eat
is
that
average, is roughly average height.
Yeah.
Huh. He's 180 centimeters. That's I remember that one because that's how
5'9".
tall Kodo Shogaku is. For whatever reason, that's the one that I remember, which is totally a respectable height for a sumo wrestler.
I like how you added a respectable height for sumo wrestler. Because I'm like, are you hitting the 180 centimeter mark, Jake?
No, I'm not saying I'm at a respectable height. When have I ever given that impression to you?
Fair point. And the last thing we're going to hit on real quick, this kind of became a big deal a couple of weeks before this Basho is going to be starting, but there was a report that has come out that there was a outside committee, like outside of the JSA, that was put together, and they've been meeting over the past 2 years to talk about how to move sumo kind of into the future. And one of the things they discussed was eliminating the kind of special elder stock that Dai Yokozuna get, where instead of taking a elder stock name, they get just their shikona that they used while wrestling as their name. And so this became big news because a lot of people are thinking that this was targeted at Hakuho, who is not a natural born Japanese citizen. Born in Mongolia, is now a Japanese citizen. So a lot of upset and outrage on the Twitter sphere about this. I didn't know if you guys had any more thoughts or details to offer about this.
I certainly wouldn't go so far as to say it is like a blatant racist, xenophobic type thing, but I also think it is silly to pretend that it is not targeted at Hakuho.
I'm with you there, Jake.
Like, I mean, I can understand being Mongolian is not the only reason that Hakuho is not the most popular guy. He's certainly, it's not like you have to like Hakuho just because he's successful, but it's very silly to start doing this right now, right as he is approaching retirement. I think it is very silly to pretend that it is not targeted, but I'm not going to necessarily try and talk about specific motivations for it. But come on.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you look at it and you go, okay, it's not at you, it's not because of you, but
yeah, it's like the Hall of Fame in football saying like Tom Brady's about to retire, and it's like, I don't think we're going to let people into the Hall of Fame if they have 6 rings or however many he's got. It's like, who we're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's my collective thought on it as well. Like, come on, what's going on? Hopefully, luckily it's like just a report, and like the Sumo Association can do whatever they want with it, and hopefully they just say like, screw this. If they really want to get rid of that, I think it's kind of too late for Hakuho, because he's just like, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all time. And so I like maybe do something where like after him, no more. I think people will be very happy with that.
That would be so
Give
much
the king
more
his
fair.
crown.
Grandfather in the one guy who is obviously going to be eligible for any version of this honor, and then no more after that. That would be much more, fair in my opinion, because my opinion matters so much. But you know what I'm getting at.
I mean, as members of JSA West, we know that the mainline JSA in Japan are tuned in to every word that we are saying. So getting our thoughts out there, it does do a lot. And I imagine our word is held in very high esteem over there.
I would hope.
Clearly.
Yeah. On that message. On that message of hope, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Jake will remind us where the GSB belt sits. We will make our predictions for our champs and chumps, and finally, after a month and a half delay, we will have Flarrick's punishment. Flarrick, say my name before we go to break.
I hate you, Yokozuna Ryan.
Good enough for me.
Ryan only heard 2 words of that.
Yep.
I embrace the hate. Let's go to break.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at the Grand Sumo Breakdown, aka the JSA West title belt, currently sitting around the how did the joke go last time? The ample
bosom.
The ample bosom.
The ample bosom of Aoyama. The most
amplest of bosoms.
The amplest bosom.
There's some body shaming for you.
Yeah, bosom the chair.
There's enough for the whole class. So Aoyama at Maegashira 3 East is where our belt is going to start this tournament. Our belt did technically make it all the way up to Sekiwake with Teruno Fuji last tournament, but we're going to at least see if this can go. I think for this tournament, we'll say that this belt will be retired if it gets around the ample bosom of the highest ranked guy who's actually competing, which would be the ample bosom of Asanoyama. So if Asanoyama takes the belt at any point, that'll do it. And I think it's very likely that he'll at least challenge for it. He did challenge for it last time, but technically he wasn't the highest ranked at that time. Whatever, doesn't matter. What's most likely, just based on Ryan's Torikumi math here, Takanosho is likely to be the first challenger for Aoyama. Someone in the Sekiwake range, but we'll get some Ozeki matches for sure. And if the belt makes it there, we will retire this first iteration and start a new one whenever we feel like it. But it's finally getting there. We're finally like on the verge of completing it after. Let's see. There have been 90 matches for the GSB belt so far, so we'll see if it. We'll see how many.
That's
more
not
it takes.
bad, actually.
Yeah,
That's
it's about in
counting-
line with projections.
That's
Yeah.
also counting below Makuuchi, where it's like 7 matches at Basho.
Right. Yes, exactly.
All right, so we will move on to our prediction series. First up, we will need to choose our champ, and Fleric as our reigning loser. You get the first.
That's damn
pick.
right.
You get the first pick. So who
All
would
right.
you like to be your champ? And I'm guessing, based on your Ozeki rankings, we probably already know who that is.
Yeah, I am not going to make the same mistake as I did last time, where I passed over Terunofuji and gave it to you, Ryan, which was my ultimate downfall. I am picking Ozeki Terunofuji as my champ.
Oh, I have a bad feeling about where this is going to go. Jake, who are you taking?
Let's keep the Ozeki train going. I'll take Asanoyama.
Ooh. Okay.
Right.
I actually get my first pick, Takakeisho.
Oh, this is all going very
it.
poorly for your defending champion.
Do it. Do it.
I am not going with Shodai.
Do it.
I knew this was how it was going to play out. Why was I not prepared for this?
You were too busy gloating.
You
Take
know,
Takayasu. Therefore, either I win because he does well, or I win because Ryan does poorly.
No, I think Takanosho. Do Takanosho.
Solid 8 wins for you there, Ryan.
Let's go Wakataka Kage. Go with your
Ooh, go with the gut.
yeah.
I
I was gonna go with the penis, but yeah.
there's no
That works
reason the
too.
gut and the penis can't be pointing the same direction. Wakataka Kage it is.
Yo, bold move.
Oh God, oh,
It's written on the Google Drive, and you can't change
It's
stuff once
done.
you write it there. So
I know. Shodai's just. I'm not picking. I already went on record about Shodai. I can't do it, and yeah, go big or get punished. So yeah, but coming back, I do get
Ooh.
first pick of.
I like
Chump.
it.
And so I am not picking Shodai as my chump.
Oh,
Oh, I was about to say, oh,
What?
all right,
That's where you were
he's
going
doing
with that.
I don't think Shodai will have a winning record, but I think somebody that will do worse than Shodai is Toby Zaru.
Ooh.
fascinating.
I feel like Max says "ooh," no matter who you pick.
Ooh.
All
I'm
right.
excited, Jake. I'm on the edge of my
Speaking,
seat.
speaking of Mac,
Yes.
who do you have as your chump? You are our like reigning chump master. Like
Yes, I can
you have
pick
the kiss
losers.
of
What can I
death.
say? I don't want to do Chiyo no Kuni because I don't want to game the system like that. He's injured. I don't play that way. However, I'm going to go with our ample bosomed buddy Aoyama.
Ooh.
R.I.P. Aoyama. This Basho confirmed.
Yes.
Yep, the kiss of death. To the ample bosom. I'm gonna go with Hideno Umi, who is jumping up 9 ranks to his career best. He got a 10-5 from Maegashira 15 West, and I don't think he can do that again.
So I do want to take a quick break since you mentioned Hide no Umi before we move on to Fleric's pick, because Sumo Follower actually found some quotes from Hide no Umi that might actually make me like him a little bit.
Hopefully they say, I'm very worried. I think I will do poorly this tournament. I will not do my
Tokushoryu
best.
effect.
I would
Don't
not
bet
do
on
my
me.
best.
No, so
I will take it 15 days at a time.
No.
That's too many.
so he's brothers with Toby Zaru, And so he said that there have been several sets of brothers in Makuuchi before, most notably 2 Yokozuna together, but I'll settle for making Sanyaku with him. That's not the thing that I like. What I did like is when asked about keeping in touch with his brother, because they're actually in separate stables, which is weird. I thought like brothers were always in the same stable.
Commonly, at least.
Hidenumi says, brother or not, I'm not that into people.
What?
Then
Is that a bad translation?
Then corrects to, I'm only into sumo and babes right now.
Damn.
Like,
Oh my god, I cannot
This is
pick him
from
anymore.
this is from
Priorities.
sumo follower. As far as I know, she has never had like a joke tweet when she's translating articles. As far as I can tell, this is legit and
The
real.
man's got priorities. All right, respect.
He also has said that people ask if what motivated me last Basho was my brother, but in fact it was Aki Sayama. At age 35, he achieved his first Kachi Koshi. That commands respect, though I constantly tease him. And
He's
then the
truly
final,
one of us.
yeah, and then the final quote from Hide no Umi about Natsu Basho starting without spectators. When I see many towels for the opponents, I get hyped. I want to win and go in your faces. So it's good that spectators will be allowed after the third day at least.
Oh my god. All right, so if I lose and it's because of Hidenoumi, I'm going to get I am only into sumo and babes tattooed on my chest.
Wow. In kanji, full kanji.
Yes,
All right.
I'll have to consult some people on Twitter to make sure that I'm getting the proper translation. I want to make sure that I'm getting sumo and babes in kanji.
I need to.
I'll
I
go
would
in
love
with
to
you.
know the kanji for babes.
Yes, babes.
Wait.
I
Let's
will
look it
go
up.
in with you on that, Jake, and I will just get I'm not that into people tattooed on my forehead.
Into people.
If I win because Hidenoumi
Yeah.
does very poorly, then Ryan has to do that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not that into people. Unless they're babes.
Unless they're babes or
they're
they're sumo.
babes.
Yeah. All right, Flarek, we've given you plenty of time. Who
God
is your
damn.
chump?
Goodness. I'm going with Akua because he's down. He only got like 8
Aqua.
to 7. Yeah, Aqua. And he's yeah. Hopefully he does poorly. Please.
This
I would be so
backfired with
happy.
Mace last time.
Yeah. I'm not messing with that joy shit anymore.
That's probably fair.
All right. Let's draw the next punishment, and then we will get Flarek to perform his punishment. So Jake, as you reach into the Takayasu teacup of petty cash punishments and Patreon compliments, what is our punishment?
Looking into your eyes is like looking into the ocean.
Ooh.
Wait, damn it.
it.
Sorry.
Can I change my
It was
picks?
a compliment. All
I
right.
apologize. Whoever, you all owe me $1 because you got a free compliment.
Oh shit.
No, here we go. So I will color code them by next time. So maybe I'll be better at this. No, it is the die rolling phrases of winner's choice.
Ooh, the D20.
So yeah,
All
this
right.
is the one where we set up a chart, we roll on it, and we have a set number of phrases that must be uttered by the loser, selected by the rest of the team.
I like it.
Last
All
time we
right.
had Ryan praise the Green Bay Packers. I remember.
Oh my
he's-
God. Aaron Rodgers is trying to force his way out of Green Bay. This is the greatest week ever. All right, let's move on. I just
right,
had to
so
get that in there. I'm so
that one-
excited.
That one's
Hey,
not going to land
Vikings,
quite as hard anymore.
Vikings.
No. But I do also remember specifically that Ryan made it clear in a legally binding statement that my dog
Bubbles
is
is not
cuter than
cuter.
his dog.
Bubbles is not
Ooh.
cuter.
I will. I'll reference the tape. But regardless, let's move on to Flarek. You sang a song for whom?
For Yokozuna Ryan, I did.
Mm.
It was yeah. It exists. Is done. Since this is we do this remotely, I pre-recorded it. I did it beforehand, and so we just have to play it, and then I need to get on with my life. So
Do you want to announce what the song is before we play it?
okay, so the song that Ryan tossed, he punched into my DMs. It was not slide of what he wanted to do. Was nothing but some year band, the Proclaimers, I'm Gonna Be, but with the flavor of just a Sukibito trying to navigate his way through being in a stable.
Hmm.
And
Oh,
Jake,
boy.
if you would take it away.
All right, here we go. Let's give this another shot.
When I wake up, yeah, I know I'm gonna be the best Suke Bido just for you. When it's lunchtime,
Damn it.
yeah, I know I'm gonna be making Bombas Chonko just for you. When you're busy, yeah, I know I'm gonna be doing dirty laundry just for you. And when you can't sleep, hey, I know I'm gonna be telling a bedtime story right to you. And I would stomp 500 times, and I would eat 500 pies, just to be the kind of sumotori that sometimes is noticed by his senpai. When you're training, heck, I know I'm gonna be giving ladles of water right to you. When I'm struggling, yeah, I know I'm gonna be listening to all the tips you give me. And when you get sore, yeah, I know I'm gonna be massaging all those muscles just for you. And when we get bored, yeah, I know we're gonna be making secret handshakes just for two. And I would stomp 500 times, and I would eat 500 pies, just to be the kind of sumotori that sometimes is noticed by his senpai. Sumo, mata nodaka hakioi. Sumo, mata nodaka hakioi. I felt proud about that.
That was
When
good.
you win fights,
Oh, it's
yeah,
not
I know
bursting.
I'm gonna be giving my best fist bump right to you. And when you feel down, yeah, I know I'm gonna be losing all my matches against you. And when you rank up, oh, I know I'm gonna be eating expensive dinners paid by you. And when I'm Jurio, yeah, I know I'm gonna know just how proud you are of me. I'm gonna know just how proud you are of me. And I would stomp 500 times, and I would eat 500 pies, just to be the kind of sumotori that sometimes is noticed by his senpai. Sumo, Mata nodaka hakioi. Sumo, Mata nodaka hakioi. Sumo, Mata nodaka hakioi. Sumo, Mata nodaka hakioi. And I would stomp 500 times, and I would eat 500 pies, just to be the kind of sumotori that sometimes is noticed by his senpai.
Bravo.
I appreciate the backup
Bravo.
vocals.
Oh, that was worth the month and a half wait.
Well done,
I-
sir.
I need you to ghostwrite my next singing punishment. I'll perform it, but I need you to write it for me. You have a way with words.
Ryan,
There you
with
go.
your history of musical punishments, we also really need him to help tutor you on rhythm as well.
Yes, with my great skills of rhyming senpai with pies.
Like, how does it? Okay.
You have to eat a lot of pies to grow
You do
big.
have to eat a lot of pies.
I caught a pretty righteous screenshot of Mac and Ryan rocking out, me trying to not lose my shit laughing, and Flarrick just so upset.
Just pissed.
But we've got it. We finally have all four of us singing on the podcast.
Yeah.
Some of us 4 times more than others,
It's
Yeah,
true.
Do better, Jake. Well, I mean,
or
I
not.
picked
Not too good.
Or not.
I picked Wakataka Kage this time. I don't have a whole lot
Ooh.
of legs to stand on when it says
Yeah,
do
that's right.
better. All right. So let's talk about what everybody is most excited for this Basho, excluding listening to Flaric's song on repeat for the next week or so. So Flaric, what are you most excited for? Let's get you out of your Joel drums, out of your embarrassment. What are you excited for?
I'm excited for Hakuho just taking this Basho on his shoulders and just doing like one-legged squats just to flex how strong his knees are and bringing me to a win so I can just wreck you, Ryan.
I believe you mean Terano Fuji.
Terano Fuji is who you are
Terano
referring to,
Fuji.
correct?
Who'd I say?
Hakuho.
I would love to see Hakuho too. But
Singing is very traumatic. I understand.
Yes.
I will settle for Terano Fuji. Just taken away, and we get ourselves a Yokozuna run going into Aki or Nagoya.
July, because it probably won't be in Nagoya.
Oh yeah, good call.
All right. What about you, Mac?
For this one, there's a lot of good things I'm hoping for, but for this one, I'm hoping Asanoyama breaks through his mental block. And I'm waiting at this point. I'm just waiting in hope that Asanoyama finally gets it together and beats Terano Fuji.
All right, Jake.
4 Ozekis that all have Yusho under their belt. 4 junior Sanyaku guys that are all mainstays. We got a very strong Joy this time around. This is a very top-heavy card, and I am excited to see the best go up against the best because I really don't think there's anybody at the top of the list here who doesn't deserve to be there. I think we're going to see some high-quality stuff, high parity, but also like high-caliber, high-quality stuff. About as good as we can expect without there to be a Yokozuna lording over everyone.
I think all of my favorite Rikishi, my 3 favorite Rikishi, are all Magashira 5 or above, Hoshoryu, Wakataka Kage, and Hokuto Fuji. Looking forward to watching each of those guys take the next step. Hopefully, Wakataka Kage, Hokuto Fuji can weasel their way into the Sanyaku ranks next time, and Hoshoryu can make his way so that he is in the Joy, and we can see what he is made out of. All right, and I think that's going to wrap up this episode of the podcast. If that song just did as much for you as it did for me, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast listening service.
Yeah. Don't go to social media. You can just kind of move on.
Not this time.
Not this time. Don't search for Grand Sumo Breakdown.
GrandSumoBreakdown.wordpress.com, and also check out Grand Sumo Breakdown on Patreon.
If you have any questions, comments, or corrections, drop us a line at grandsumobreakdown@gmail.com or give us a call at 805-613-7866. That's 805-613-SUBO.
All right, Basho starts, fingers crossed, Sunday, May 9th. We will have our midway episode after day 8, and our recap will be shortly after the conclusion of the Basho.
Let's hope
Bye.
that Flaric has to sing again for some reason.
Dear God.
My D20 says sing a song.
Aha! Gotcha!
All
Done.
20 of them say that.
All right, I'm going to stop.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time, throw your salt high
And keep moving forward.